So that book, If the God Who Sees, is sort of an introduction to seeing God's heart for immigrants. Really, Beyond Welcome is part two, is sort of the 102 class. And so as I was going around speaking a lot about the God Who Sees and talking to people about God's heart for immigrants, what I found was there were a lot of people who kind of said, very indirectly, obviously, well, I already care about this. I already welcome immigrants. My job is done. And so what I wanted to do was, well, no, none of our jobs are done. First of all, welcome is the very beginning of the conversation. That's the very entryway. It's the very least that we can do. And from there, we have to move into kinship and mutuality. We have to move into solidarity. And we have to move into advocacy together because it's our collective liberation that's at stake. And so that's what this book is it's really not a book that's practical in the sense it's going to give you a how-to or where to go and what to do or where to serve. It's a book about being, about how we need to be changed, how we need to think about the words that we use because they shape our reality and they create distance between us or they create connection and belonging. The way that we think about land as well, the way that we think about migration. Migration in the Bible was really quite normal and natural, and there's no judgment on people who need to migrate. They just have to because of need, usually. Famines cause migration most of the time. And then I wanted to talk about some of the myths that we internalize. Myths like there's a good immigrant kind of person. Also, we think assimilation, the myth to assimilate is a good thing. So I wanted to talk more broadly about some other things. And then really it's a lot more nuanced. That's why I'd say it's not an introduction to the conversation because it's really dealing more with some conversations that are a lot more, I would say, that require all of us to change. Because as immigrants ourselves, many of us, whether we're first generation, second, third, we've internalized a lot of these kind of white supremacist messages too. When I go out and speak, it never fails. There's someone always who asks me, well, what about, Latinos for Trump? What about the fact that most of the Border Patrol are Latinx people, And I let them know, of course, that exists because this assimilation that we force on people, you don't just assimilate to language and culture and good things. You also assimilate to systems of oppression in order to belong, in order to be included. And that to me is why Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and frankly Latinos for Trump exist. Because of that, there's sort of a promise made that if I capitulate to white supremacy, I'm going to belong. I'm going to be included. And of course it's a lie, right? Because it's not true. So yeah, the conversation in this second book, I would say goes a little bit deeper in certain areas because it isn't a one-on-one conversation and it is for immigrants as well as for other people who are not immigrants. But I think all of us have work to do in that sense. I know I talk about in the book how I used to really unconsciously buy into these myths, like being a good immigrant, being the good kind of immigrant. I grew up in Florida where Cubans were seen as the good immigrants because they came as refugees and they're fleeing this terrible political regime, right? And they came legally. And so sometimes I let people think I was Cuban because there were such good associations with them. But that's part of the good immigrant myth, right? Is that you come legally, you come because of, desperate need. You're here to, work hard and keep your head down, and you're so grateful for everything that you have. So these messages exist, and they're really harmful. We start holding up not only ourselves to these kind of rubrics of worthiness, but also other immigrants. And that really mars the image of God in one another. Because all of a sudden, it's not enough to be. You have to perform, to belong, to be included. That's very anti-gospel, right?
What's up, friends? Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening to this clip, be sure to watch the full episode linked up in the show notes. And if you are not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe and like so that this gets spread to more people to listen to these amazing stories. Last, be sure to turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on any of the Refuge Pod episodes moving forward. See you in the next one. Peace.